Today on the Paul Harrell program, the left continues to lie about Charlie Kirk after his assassination last week. They continue to celebrate his murder as many bloodthirsty leftists lose their jobs. Today, Vice President J.D. Vance hosted the Charlie Kirk Show. We have those clips as we remember a man whose legacy is inspiring millions across the world to stand and speak the truth. In fact, according to reports on X, many Americans went to church yesterday for the first time. Let's hope they keep attending as they hear the truth. Jesus is mighty to save. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks, welcome. We welcome you to the program today. We've got a lot to get to. Situation is still fluid. We've got updates on the shooter. Still a lot of questions about. I still have a lot of questions about the gun. We're going to talk about all of this. My co-host Rob Spencer is with us. Rob.
Paul, it's an honor to be here, and unfortunately, a lot of us had heavy hearts over the weekend. Of course, it's just not something that we're going to get over in a very short amount of time, and I don't think we should. I really don't think that we should at this point, because I believe that it's one of those. Pardon the pun, because it's the name of his organization, but I think it's a turning point for us here in America. And you took out one of our moderates, our articulate, respectful, debate-oriented moderates.
Yep.
You took out one of those. You didn't take out one of the far-right crazies,
Exactly.
right? You didn't, I hate, like you could say an Alex Jones or something like that, although I agree with a lot that Alex Jones says. I think he's a little out there on some stuff. And, Steve Bannon, I think, can get out there a little bit on some of that stuff. But you didn't. But no one would say Alex Jones or Steve Bannon,
of course not,
is a moderate. No one. But there have been tons of conversations talking about Charlie Kirk's moderate views, and we even had Stephen King saying, well, he advocated for stoning gays to death.
Yep, and then he walked that back.
He walked that back and apologized. But is that something that you can apologize for? Like, there's probably not a person in the civilized world, right? I'm sure there are plenty of third world countries who have no idea who Stephen King is, but Stephen King is a huge name. You have heard of him, or you've seen one of his movies or read one of his books or something like that. So he's got a huge following, and it's just really disappointing. I know he's a leftist, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can't do your research. I think a lot of us have unfriended more people, over that, and I'm not an unfriender.
Yeah.
And I've just had to do it because I'm like, well, I'm just not going to engage in this dialogue, but I see your heart.
Yep.
And now I'm not going to share a meal with you.
It's incredible that and this is why J.D. Vance says here in a minute, he hosted the Charlie Kirk Show, and he said some incredible things today. But I think this is why this idea, you hear from some, okay, we've got to come together, we've got to have unity. Well, actually, not with a certain segment of the population. The segment of the population on the left that is celebrating this, it's the wake-up call is, okay, well, if the public assassination, the bloody assassination of somebody like Charlie Kirk doesn't get the left to say, to stop and say, oh, okay, yeah, we can condemn this, then it really lets you know how big the problem is. This is a massive spiritual problem. Mm-hmm. This is a good versus evil problem. To celebrate his murder the way they have, we can unequivocally say, wow, that's demonic.
Yeah.
That's something that the devil would rejoice in.
We've even seen it, Paul. We saw, people go, all out and even invoke the name of Jesus in the celebration of Charlie Kirk's death. I saw a clip of a pastor who was extremely distraught.
Put the pastor in quotes.
100%, because this man said that he was distraught that our flags were at half staff or half mast, because he believed that Charlie Kirk was a devout racist and spewed racist ideology, although you can't find a single solitary clip of him being racist. And we're going to go over that over the course of this hour a little bit. it's hard to want to focus too much on the leftist lies, but it goes back to what I said last week, and I just want to reiterate that point that there are 4 sectors of people on the internet right now. There are 4 sectors of people in the United States. With the exception that there are these outliers that literally have no clue what's going on at all. They don't watch the news. They totally have their head in the sand.
Right.
Like, I don't know who Charlie Kirk is.
Yeah.
Like you have no clue. Like that's a very small minority. You got these 4 people. You got the people that are on the right who are angry and they're wanting to take up arms and they're wanting to declare war. Maybe not literal war, but they're wanting to declare war. Then you got the people on the right that are just sad and heartbroken. And then you have the people on the left, okay, this is the third group, who disagreed with Charlie, but they be like this is not the America that I want. I don't want where we are
Political violence.
Yeah, we are assassinating people just because we disagree with what they said. And then you got this fourth group, and they're the ones that are getting all of the attention right now. These are the ones that are getting fired from their job. I even posted on a friend's Facebook, a very prominent person here in our local community. He's won Best of the Best photographers and all of that stuff. And I commented on this, and I just said, I've not seen a single solitary person be fired from their position who said something similar to, I disagreed with everything that Charlie said. However, this is not, to murder someone for their political beliefs is not right. This is not what we want. The people who are losing their jobs over the last couple of days and then going on the internet and crying about it, the sweet liberal tears that is like about I was texting you, I was like, that's the only peace that I have found is seeing these individuals, who are so rotten-hearted, like at least lose their job because so that and not because I cheer for someone's financial ruin. It's because will it at least highlight the rottenness of your heart enough where you might look in the mirror, even slightly look in the mirror and say, maybe I was wrong. Maybe.
Yeah, and with some of those videos, those meltdown videos, like you said, it's good to see the consequences of uncivilized behavior, and I think that's what it is, and we need to be okay with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to wrap a bow around what I was saying, and I commented on his page, that these are the people that are being fired, and there were so many people reacting to that, but then you see somebody post about the memorial service. And the tears and all of this stuff, and then what you see, like those on Facebook, the reactions, right? And they've got those little emojis. You got the likes, you got the hearts, you got the all that, and then you got the laughing emoji. There's nothing more depressing right now to see the laughing emoji. And I know that they're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their rotten heart. But it's depressing to know that that's the world that we live in.
Yeah.
That those individuals exist. Those individuals are parents. Those individuals could be leaders, as we saw with this pastor.
Right.
Right. These people are influential. Some of these individuals, and they have rotten hearts.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it really just goes to show. It goes to show how much we need the Lord to change people's hearts. That's
and Paul, and
that's the 30,000 foot view. Go ahead.
You know just as well as I do how there were hundreds of thousands of people. I'm not going to go as far as to say millions, but maybe even millions of people who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk over the last couple of days and then went to church on Sunday and didn't even think.
You said that last week, and maybe, but I tend to think that there may be a lot that just of that group that don't go to church at all, right?
I would agree with you. And then I saw that video of that pastor, and then
that's true.
When he said that, they were cheering,
right?
Yeah, it was that happened to be a black church, but then there were other individuals I saw one other clip in a white church that was talking about, hey, don't make Charlie Kirk a Christian martyr. He is not a Christian martyr. And it was just like, and they were cheering about it, and I'm like, what Bible are you learning?
I know. Well, I talk a lot about this, but you've got a lot of churches with the rainbow flags and stuff like that.
Oh, that's those
that are not really churches anymore.
100%. I've talked about it in the past when we went to St. Louis. for a Cardinals game, and we drove by this one just happened to be a Presbyterian church. Now, no offense here, but this just happened to.
I'm not that kind of Presbyterian.
Yes, there are definitely two types of Presbyterians, and Paul is on the godly Bible-based side, right? And then there is maybe there's more divisions of it. I'm not going to speak about the Presbyterian church, but I'm going to tell you this one had gay pride flags on the sign.
Yep. When I was in Austin a couple of years ago, and I was in Austin, and beautiful Presbyterian church right in downtown Austin, and covered in rainbow flags.
Yeah, Austin it's basically San Francisco that is like just sitting in Texas, and Texas doesn't claim it. Now, some of the people like to go to Austin just because there's lots of stuff to do. There's nightlife and all of that. But you don't want to, like, if you're a righty, you don't want to live in Austin.
Oh no,
you despise that. It's like someone who, like, if you look at a map of California, much more of California is red than it is blue. It's just that these high population areas are blue, and so it's like, hey, I go to Los Angeles for entertainment and all that stuff, but I would never want to live there.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up an interesting point, though. It pops into my head. Just in terms of what we're potentially uncovering about the shooter. Again, if the official narrative is true, there's a group that since deleted their account right after the assassination, and I can't remember the name, I'll have to find it, but it's basically like a trans militia group training. And so you start to think, will the National Guard have to go into these cities that have the higher trans populations eventually? Again, I'm just kind of saying that tongue-in-cheek, but it does appear that they're training themselves to be violent.
Paul, I saw the videos, and we can, this is not like the videos of the Afghanistan soldiers,
right.
Like doing jumping jacks, and it was like, okay, wait a minute, like a junior high gym class looks better than that. That's not what this was. I saw some transgender folks shooting targets with AR-15s, and it was impressive, meaning that was not their first go around.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about right here. Let me throw it up on the screen. Breaking: a Utah-based trans militia group armed queers Salt Lake City, which trains individuals to use weapons to defend trans rights, deleted its account the day Charlie was killed. So that's what I was referring to.
Were some of these the ones that were posting like a couple of days prior to? This is all alleged that that Charlie Kirk was going to be killed on September 10th.
I don't know if it was these people affiliated with this specific group, but
And then there was one other one that said, so it said Charlie Kirk, September 10th, Donald Trump, September 10th, Donald Trump, December 13th. I don't know where he's going to be on December 13th. I have no idea.
Well, hopefully the FBI and the Secret Service.
Well, I think posting that probably going to foil it. But
yeah, you would think. But to your point about people and their posts, Crystal Ball says the policing of everyone's thoughts and emotions.
Is that her real name?
Yeah, Crystal Ball. Yeah,
okay.
She has a show with I can't remember the other guy's name. Kind of a left-right, or used to have a left-right Hannity and Combs perspective.
Okay.
The policing of everyone's thoughts and emotions around Charlie Kirk's death is wild. Cancel culture on steroids, backed by the full force of the government.
Oh, shut up.
Steve Day says all political sadism must be purged from civilized society. We need to shame it so badly that the social cost for letting it consume you won't be worth paying, let alone putting it on display. For it will undo us faster than anything else if we don't. He's been actually taking that exact post and retweeting and commenting on so many people that are saying something similar about, we're upset about cancel culture or consequence culture or that sort of thing. Look, this kind of goes back to what I've said before about really the idea of being a neutral society, public society is not actually a thing. We as a society are going to decide what's good and what's bad. And having an opinion like, men can't become women, that did get people canceled back in the day. That did get people canceled. Sure. And that's bad. And I'm against canceling somebody from having a truthful opinion. But I can also say having an opinion that's celebrating the murder and death of somebody who did not deserve it is also evil and also bad. So, this is not. We're not into double standard territory here. We're into kind of reforming how we think about our society, and societies always get to decide what their blasphemy laws are going to be.
So if you want to go with the example of the Minnesota representatives who were murdered, now they want to put that one
on the
on
state rep.
But
that case is so weird. We still don't have all the facts about it. The guy with the mask at the door and his whole explanation, and then his friend that didn't make any sense or whatever.
Well, and this guy was confirmed that he worked for Tim Walz and that he has been a Democrat in the past. Now, whether he had changed his political affiliation or not. And then the other thing, too, Paul, is that, allegedly he was very upset that there was a vote that day for providing universal health care for illegal immigrants, that those two people that he killed, two state reps that he killed, were no votes on that, and that he was allegedly very upset about that. But let's just say that's not true, because we don't know. Let's just say that one is, so this individual is on the right? Let's just say that, and he took out those. Did you see any Republican people celebrating this?
No, of course not.
Right? Not a single solitary one. So why don't you shut the hell up, Crystal Ball, because you don't know what you're talking about. We don't celebrate the violence from our side. We don't celebrate. We're not sitting here saying that these people deserve to die because they were evil, Crystal. And the people that are getting canceled, I'm going to go back to what I said, are not the ones that are saying, hey, I disagreed with Charlie, but that was wrong. Let's not do that. It's the people who are dancing, thoughts and prayers for Charlie. That girl really screwed the pooch. Her husband, if he's got any balls at all, he's going to divorce her. If you know who I'm talking about, it's the stupid girl. Thoughts and prayers.
I did see somebody went to his business.
Oh yeah,
and confronted him.
I'm not down with that, but I can tell you this: that dude is like really questioning all of his life decisions at that point. Yeah, and if he is a godly, biblical man at all, he's telling that woman, you're going to go over there and you're going to sit down and you're not going to say a word, because if I'm the provider of this family and you are restricting my ability to be able to do it, you're going to shut up. Yeah. Now, I would never say that to my wife, but I would never have to.
Yeah, I think that man has a pretty hard life under his roof at the moment.
He's questioning some stuff here recently, Paul.
Here's J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance. The second highest office in the United States just proclaimed the Nicene Creed to millions. So there's people going to church for the first time, or people going to church this past Sunday for the first time in a long time.
It's been incredible.
Reports of lines trying to get in.
Yeah.
So let's hope that this is the start of people understanding. Like, the recognition of evil will oftentimes remind people that there's good.
Yeah.
And the specific truth is that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Is that from so this says under that video, from Wade Stotts. I know a Wade Stotts. Is that
let's see here. This is the Wade Show with Wade.
Wow. I know that guy.
Yeah.
Great dude. His brother has gone the wayward side of the lefties.
You know this person? He's the show.
Yeah.
With Cannon Press?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know him. He's from here.
Oh,
I don't know that he lives here anymore, but he's just a great dude. Great parents.
Oh, really?
His sister is phenomenal. She sings in our church. Just a great person. And the wayward son. You hope that he becomes the prodigal son and that's
everything.
Interesting.
So maybe we can get him on the show. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Here is J.D. Vance hosting the Charlie Kirk Show earlier today.
The most important truth Charlie told is this: that long ago a man, begotten, not made, came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and suffered death and was buried and rose again on the third day. Charlie believed, as I do, that all the truth he told flowed from that fundamental principle. I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. But unity, real unity, can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth.
That's exactly right. So we're not going to have unity if we don't acknowledge that we have a huge problem in this country. And this is what he said about unity, J.D. Vance.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics.
Yes.
There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder.
Amen.
There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us?
That's about to change.
By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
The Vice President of the United States. I've never been more thankful that J.D. Vance is the Vice President than I am at this moment. I will also say, can you imagine if we had Mike Pence as the Vice President right now? What an absolute disaster and train wreck he would be. There's no way he would say, we can't have unity with these people. There's no way he would say that. I mean, you've seen this on the Republican side. You know, you've seen this, the governor of Utah, who Charlie Kirk called a rhino. You know, he was out there on the Sunday shows making a fool out of himself. But you've even seen, you've even some Republican senators, they're trying to take this kumbaya moment without acknowledging the elephant in the room, and that's what J.D. Vance is calling out. Second highest office in the land is saying we can't have unity with people who celebrate somebody's death. That's not going to happen. Again, it's like playing checkers or chess, and you sit down, you get punched in the face, and then you say, well, let's get better at chess. That's not the answer here. You have to acknowledge that we have the problem.
This is not a 50-50 issue.
No, and he even says that.
Right. This is not. This is a whatever percentage of the left side that is psychotic enough to celebrate the death of someone who just spoke words. Right. If you're psychotic enough, and I'm using that. I'm honestly, when you say it as psychotic. When you say the word psychotic, it's almost giving them a pass because it means that they've got this thing in their brain.
A mental health out.
That's not what it is. You just have an evil heart.
Yeah.
And you have allowed it to be evil. You've allowed that because Jim Rohn is a late motivational speaker. Okay, I believe he died in the mid-2000s. He had a big, in the 80s and 90s, Jim Rohn. And his mentor, so he gives him credit to his mentor, but it kind of became famous with Jim Rohn. He said, stand guard at the doors of your mind and be careful what you let in. And he was talking about it from a business perspective and how you would sit down in the morning and you would read the morning newspapers and you would see death and war and rapes and tragedies and all of this stuff, and then you would try to go out and have a wonderful, fantastic day. Right? He was like, you're letting all this garbage into your brain. Well, that's what the far left has done. That's what this transgender ideology has been made of. They have let this garbage go into their brain. They have not stood guard at the doors of their mind. They have allowed it to infiltrate their brain. So that is their fault. That is their fault, number one, that they didn't make the conscious decision to actually fact check this stuff. We've seen this stuff, including I'm not going to mention his name, but including that connection that I mentioned earlier, that individual posted a clip of 5 times that Charlie Kirk was, racist or misogynist or homophobic or something of that nature. And one of the 5 was the one that we've all seen. And it said the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a mistake. And it cuts off. It totally stops right there. And I was like, you are making the choice to not go see the full clip, to not see the full context, you are allowing that poison to infiltrate your mind. So it is your fault. You have got to live the Jim Rohn method there and stand guard. Yep. And if you let something in, it is beholden to you as an adult. We can almost excuse children. And I saw a sick video that I'll talk about in just a second. But if you are an adult and you allow this to go into your brain, it is beholden to you to fact check it and not use it as just confirmation bias, to go look at the other side of it. And maybe, just maybe, the mainstream media is lying to you. This organization is lying to you. This ideology-based infiltrating your brain is lying to you. I saw this sickening video of a mom recording what appeared to be a 7-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter. And she goes, "Guess what? I've got the best news ever." And the girls goes, "Trump was killed."
Oh, no. Are you serious?
No. And then she goes, second best news ever, actually. The vice president? No. Elon Musk was killed? No. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
Wow.
And these two little girls were standing there, and you're like, it is not their fault. Their horrible, hateful parents infiltrated their brains.
Yeah.
And you can only hope and pray that when they're adults, that they can wash that out.
You know, I can't do this without going to the spiritual aspect of this. This is spiritual wickedness. We have people whose minds and hearts are blind and dull and actually dead. And I don't really have people. We have this idea. We're to the point now where, in polite society, you don't want to overtly demonize someone, but you can't really demonize a demon. You ever think about that? Like, what we're dealing with here are people that are, I'm not going to sit here and say they're irredeemable because they clearly
something's going to have to change.
Right, exactly, and the only answer is Christ. That is the only answer. But this is a fascinating term that Green Beret and constitutional attorney earlier on the Millstone report, he directed me to this term, stochastic terrorism. We would all do very well to familiarize ourselves. That is what is going on in this country. Stochastic terrorism is a form of violence instigated by hostile public rhetoric directed at a group or an individual. Unlike incitement to terrorism, stochastic violence is accomplished with indirect, vague, or coded language which grants the instigator plausible deniability for any associated violence. A key element of stochastic terrorism is the use of media for propagation, where the person carrying out the violence may not have direct connection to any other users of the violent rhetoric. The first one is speech. A public figure or group disseminates violent inflammatory rhetoric via mass media, directed at people or groups of people, sometimes suggesting or legitimizing the use of violence, like Trump is a fascist. This speech tends to be protected due to the use of ambiguous coded language, dog whistles, jokes, hints, and other subtext and statements that fall short of criminal threshold or causation. It was just a joke defense has been linked to early days of Nazism. Other themes identified include black and white, good versus evil narratives. Typically, if you go to the speaker, the speaker is an influential political or media figure who is referenced to as a stochastic terrorist for his or her alleged indirect culpability for the attack. The instigators, or stochastic terrorists, may or may not knowingly use the technique to attack and intimidate enemies. Nonetheless, the effect remains. Propaganda is real. And, there are people now that are wanting to undo the act that Barack Obama, or put back in place the act that Obama undid, which made it legal for the U.S. government to propagandize its citizens. Obviously, that
was in 2011, 2012?
I think so.
Somewhere around there.
And if you really go back and think about it, that's where everything lost control.
We went off the rails.
And you've got the Mockingbird media, the idea of the Mockingbird media, and the intel agencies having their assets. This is a proven fact. This is never really stopped. Where you have U.S. government assets embedded in media or anchors and that sort of thing. It's proven, and it's been meant to destabilize all of us and get people really hypnotized and brainwashed. And you don't really see this, and I keep coming back to Christianity here because that's the thing that I got over the weekend more than anything is, you don't really see this. We've talked about this before. Like when Joe Biden, I'm a Christian. When Joe Biden was elected, I was upset. I was seeking the truth, but it didn't affect how I lived my life because I still know that the God of heaven is in charge of this, and he still I'm still have my allegiance to him, and I still want to live a Christian life, and I still want to raise my family. But if you go outside of that, generally speaking, if the only thing people have is the media and the government to tell them everything's okay, when the media and government start telling them everything's not okay, they lose their minds.
Sure. Let me ask you this. So this is called stochastic terrorism?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As you were reading through this, I will say this. I figured out the cheat code for an individual to determine whether they are a victim of stochastic terrorism.
Okay.
Here is the cheat code. I hope everyone's watching. Just pay attention here. Here we go. If you feel as if someone, for example, Charlie Kirk, is a racist, and therefore you call him racist, you call him misogynistic, you call him, what's the word? What's the word where you're a nationalist? Xenophobic.
Xenophobic.
I'm sorry. Yeah, xenophobic. Okay. If you believe that someone is a racist, a misogynist, or xenophobic, and you use that as your slam, and then someone immediately says, how do you know he's a racist? And then your term is either, well, you just have to listen to him, right? That's your response. Or you just say, or you can't cite anything specific. Or, like I said earlier, you say, well, he said that the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Okay, if you can't quote the full context of what the man said and use that to prove your point, then I think you need to take a hard look at whether you're a victim of stochastic terrorism.
Well, I'm reminded, when Ivan Raiklin told me that, I was reminded of Robert Malone at the height of COVID going on Joe Rogan and what was that term that he used? I just had it, mass formation psychosis. And then it got censored. Do you remember? They didn't want people to go look up the definition of mass formation psychosis.
Oh yeah, Google totally suppressed it.
I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
So if you think, first of all, if you don't think that anybody would manipulate you can look up. These videos are probably still on the internet. Look it up in 2016, whenever Hillary Clinton was running for president against Donald Trump, and you would look at Hillary Clinton criminal, right? Like if you were to Google that, Hillary Clinton criminal, and what you would do is go Hillary Clinton CRIM and look at the suggestions. Crime Bill 1992 or something, something that no one is Googling.
Right.
No one is Googling because you can actually look at so you go over to like Bing or a different, DuckDuckGo or something, and you would look at the statistics of who is actually Googling it. Millions, hundreds of millions of people are looking for the criminal activity of the Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. Like there are hundreds of millions of searches for that. 15 searches for the Hillary Clinton crime bill. But that was the top suggestion that Google was giving to you. And then you would search Hillary Clinton for president, and it's going to give you all of these suggestions. Just type in DONAL, and this still may be the case on Google. I don't know if they've retracted all this stuff.
Donations? Is that what you're trying to spell?
No, yeah. If you were going to try to donate, no. If you were going to try to do Donald Trump, but you were trying to donate to one of their campaigns, so it'd be Hillary Clinton for president, and it was giving you all of these websites to do it and all of that stuff, and then you would go DONAL, whatever. No suggestions. It would just stop. There would be no. Imagine going to Google and searching for something with no suggestions. And you're like, why are you only doing it to one side? Okay, your side has been brainwashed, and you don't realize it because our side sees it.
Yeah.
You're not searching Donald Trump for president because you're not going to donate to Donald Trump for president. You're just not going to do that stuff. But you might search for Hillary Clinton. You might search for Joe Biden, and those search results are not being suppressed.
That's one of the ways they've certainly created just this entire matrix to deceive.
We've seen it a million times,
to keep people in their own lanes and to keep them from ever really finding out what the other side says. Now, that does not, well, again, what we're dealing with here with the left and the violent left is a spiritual sickness. But Michael Knowles had this post, and he's taken some heat for it, and Matt Walsh has actually made some great points in response to this. But I want to read this, Rob, because I don't know if you have seen this.
I have not seen this.
Michael Knowles writes, in the wake of Charlie's assassination, many people are demanding that we redouble our devotion to the free marketplace of ideas. The call seems at first glance courageous and noble. In reality, it is reckless and impractical. We had an open marketplace of ideas. The left shot it up. Not only have extreme leftists committed violence in the marketplace of ideas, more scandalous still, mainstream left-wing voices have cheered and made light of the violence. There can be no open marketplace of ideas or anything else under such conditions. Marketplace requires rules, confidence, common media of exchange. They require, in other words, order. Liberty requires order. One cannot be both free and undisciplined, for instance, or free and ignorant. We know this philosophically, and we also know it intuitively. It's why we don't let toddlers vote. What we require now is the reassertion of order. We must insist upon the acceptance of basic truths and moral goods, not as the asymptomatic goal of endless debate, but as the axiomatic foundation without which debate cannot occur. We must foreclose certain antisocial behaviors and suicidal ideologies. We must, to borrow a phrase from Chesterton, stop the thought that stops thought. In practical terms, this means we must stigmatize certain evil ideas and behaviors, and we must ostracize people who insist upon them. More practically, this means that people who persist in such disorder should lose their social standing. In certain cases, they should lose their jobs. There must be consequences. With any political reform, it is wise to err on the side of caution. The offenses that merit such ostracism should be particularly egregious. A good place to begin would be with those who celebrate the murder of an innocent man. Now, to this, there's been people trying to push back on that, because I don't think they like the implications. I don't think they want to have to defend what I was just trying to say, and that in any society you can hold up a practice and call it good or evil. I mean, we're all doing this. The left was just doing this to us 5 years ago. They were saying you can't say a man and a man can't become a woman. They were just doing this. They were canceling it from us, and now we're doing the same thing. Well, I believe one of us is right and the other is wrong on the subject of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So Matt Walsh says the backlash from some conservatives to this very well thought out and obviously correct post from Michael is absurd. First of all, Michael has been making this point his entire career. There's not a single sentence here that's inconsistent with what he's always said. Second, again, he's obviously correct. There are some ideas that we should not and cannot be embraced as valid or worthy of consideration. The idea that Charlie Kirk deserved to be shot and killed on stage is one of them. So this is an example where we can say, yeah, I mean, no, you're not going to be rewarded for enjoying the death of a man who did nothing wrong. Of course, then they're going to say, but we do think he did something wrong. But this is the rub, and I really want to marinate on it. Mm-hmm. Like, I really want to consider this because there's a lot of implications, but I think it goes against the society that you and I were raised in the 90s, Rob. I think it really challenges this idea of this neutral public square. What's being exposed here is what that leads to. First of all, it's not really ever neutral. You're just letting people do whatever it is they want to do. Yeah. And I'm sorry, on the slippery slope of things, I mean, we really shouldn't be surprised that type of society that has very much pushed God out of public life is somehow some sort of, it's against the First Amendment, to pray at schools or whatever. How does it not lead to people who have had no instruction, have had no moral compass instilled with them because we can't mention a higher power. We didn't used to be that country, and likewise we didn't have people that celebrated the assassinations of an innocent man the way we're seeing. And the internet obviously plays a role. I'm not saying there wasn't people that were thrilled that Abraham Lincoln got assassinated. I'm sure there were. But we certainly didn't hear about it on TikTok.
Millions of people in the, South were cheering that on. But I can tell you, okay, so there is a prominent pro-life advocate. She goes around. She's very similar to Charlie Kirk. She goes around and she just debates with these people that disagree with her, and she's debating on a 50-50 issue. I don't know that abortion is a 50-50 issue, but it's called a 50-50 issue, right? And so anyway, yeah, I moved, Paul. So thank you.
It's all right, brother. I'm just...
But so she goes around and she I think my microphone went out. Or maybe it's my
no, we got you loud.
I'm sitting on them here, I think. I don't know what my problem is. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, so she goes around, she debates on college campuses just like Charlie Kirk and other squares. And she was actually debating live whenever the news came out. And so she's hearing, because she's a very good friend with Charlie Kirk, and she hears it and she goes, Charlie Kirk has just been shot. And the people that were there to debate her, their first reaction was to laugh. And they didn't care at all. And then very shortly after that, the news hit that he had been he was no longer with us. He had died. And there was such a joy in those individuals. And it like couldn't have been a further, like it could not have been a better example of the devaluation of life from these people who are absolutely pro-choice, my body, my choice, also saying that Charlie Kirk deserved to die. Mm-hmm. And so the devaluation of a life, I don't know when it happened, Paul. Yeah. I don't know. But Michael Knowles is exactly correct. When you have these individuals who have this belief, there is no common ground with them. There is no sort of coming to a mutual understanding. There's just things that we have to call out and just say, you're wrong, and this is not going to be allowed. This is out of the order of normal, civilized life, and we're not going to embrace it anymore.
That's right. And is it any wonder? I mean, abortion is, in my opinion, murder. I mean, it's the taking of a human life. Doesn't this track? I mean, isn't it consistent to say that if you're okay with abortion, and you want abortion on demand, you're devaluing human life. That's the whole point. That's why that woman was there, I think, to talk about that.
Oh yeah, she's trying to change minds, just like Charlie Kirk.
It's rather consistent of the left, to also be for killing people that you don't want around. That's the whole point of abortion: is I'm going to kill this baby because I don't want it.
It's inconvenient.
It's inconvenient, or and I don't want to hear Charlie Kirk anymore. So it's okay to snuff him out. So that's rather consistent from the left, and one wicked thing just seems to lead to another and another and another. And then you have people like Jasmine Crockett's pastor. Breitbart News reporting that Jasmine Crockett's pastor in Texas implies that Charlie Kirk was a fake Christian. You tell me who the fake Christian is here.
Yeah.
Christian.
Get your theology together, because the sad thing is we live in a nation where twisted, toxic theology is poisoning the politics of this nation. Have you thought about the fact that this week in Utah, a white Christian got killed by a white Christian? And then the next day, HBCUs were under threat. Now, how'd we get in it? That's called white on white crime.
I can't listen to that. Just totally clueless. You want to talk about being totally in a totally different world,
He's
a totally
garbage.
different bubble.
He needs to actually pray.
Yeah.
And the voice that he's hearing speak back to him, if it told him to say that ain't God.
You said something earlier about mental illness. I think maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm getting.
I was talking about being psychotic
maybe
and how that's a pass.
It's a pass.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing now to the murderer of Irina Zaruska. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now he's been given 90 days for a psychiatric evaluation. So he's, they're now saying the judge is telegraphing that he may not even have to stand trial. And I just think to myself, isn't that such a cop out? And if you go look at that video of him on the train, and so much has happened in such a short time because we were outraged this time last week.
Yeah.
We were outraged by that video, and we haven't even talked about it anymore
Right.
because of what happened to Charlie. But it's funny. The mental illness with this guy only kicked in when the white girl came on the train. The mental illness, he was fine with all of those other folks on there.
Yeah, that's true.
Mental illness wasn't an issue. But now we're told, but he's mentally ill.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the white person that triggered the mental illness.
I mentioned this last week, but Greg Gutfeld had a great comment about it, and he just said, so the guy was sitting there with a knife in his pocket. A white girl, a small, tiny white girl, comes, sits down in front of him. He stands up, stabs her, puts the knife back in his pocket, then walks to the front of the train saying, I got that white. Okay. And then he says another word, and he says it twice. And then he gets off the train trying to avoid capture. So he didn't choose somebody like me, 6 foot tall, 260 pounds. He didn't choose. If I had sat down in front of him, would he have stabbed me? Because he'd have had a fight on his hands. Now, he might have got me if he got me in the jugular. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm Superman, but he'd have had a fight on his hands. But he didn't choose somebody like me. He chose this weak little girl, and I don't mean that as a derogatory statement against her. She was tiny.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he tried to conceal what he had done by getting away from the crime.
Yeah, that's not what mentally ill people do.
Nothing in that shows mental illness. It showed callousness. It showed depravity for human, like someone who is not of anybody that values human life.
Right.
So do not give this guy credit for saying that he was insane. An insane person would have attacked someone without any fear of what would happen to them. An insane person would have stuck around because they didn't even realize that they'd done something wrong. They didn't feel like they did anything wrong. This dude, if he gets off because he's insane, that is the most absolute ridiculous miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. I want to say something else. I want to say that with all of especially what we're about to watch, this TikTok video that you sent me of this mashup or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going to predict that, and maybe this is wishful thinking. There's going to be people listening that think this is wishful thinking, but our society is essentially like Gotham City without Batman on steroids right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's essentially what's going on. And if we actually take the steps to do something about this, the lawful steps, the things that Michael Knowles are talking about, or Steve Deace, or Matt Walsh, and the things that I'm talking about, like, hey, these doctors that are performing these surgeries and abusing children, calling it healthcare, they need to be arrested. Antifa needs to be designated a terrorist organization. They need to go. They need to go after these. They need to go after these trans terrorist cells if they are in fact there. Mm-hmm. Like all of the things that need to happen, as well as like arresting people, like James Comey arresting. Like there's going to be people that when this happens. Because the country's to the point where they don't really care what the means are. They just want a decent society again.
Yeah.
There'll be people that are going to try to make us feel bad when the government uses the authority that they have to try to handle the situation. If that happens, I don't want to hold my breath. But if the assassination of Charlie Kirk doesn't get us some actual results by the people that we sent in there, then they are literally setting us all up for our own misery and more of this stuff to happen. If you do not hold people accountable for this and everything else that's lawless about our society, when the Dems get back in power, it's going to be so much worse.
It'll be this on steroids. I'll tell you this. I saw another video that this lady, she looked to be Asian, and she was showing clips of Erica Trump's message that she gave next to Charlie Kirk's chair in the studio of the Charlie Kirk show, and she was saying how scary it was that Erica Trump's words were definitely a call for violence, that you have no idea what you've awakened here, right? And Erica is 100% correct. She knew it. She knew that the murder, the assassination of her husband was going to send shockwaves through the world. We saw protests, not necessarily protests, but like showings of love and support all over the globe. South Korea. I mean, it was like all over for Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, you had a big protest over in the UK as well. That invigorated it.
It was, over 1 million people showing up because they're tired of the violence that their people are suffering at the hands of immigrants.
They want to be Britons. Britons want to be Britons.
Right.
Imagine that.
And it was interesting, and I thought, you literally made this video demeaning the words of a widow who just lost her husband to your side.
Yeah.
Your side killed him, and you're saying she's scary? What planet are you living on?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and they have no reckoning of the thoughts that are going through their head.
I think they just want to win. I think they want to win, and that's all they want to be right.
I agree with Erica Trump on
Kirk.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Erica Kirk on what she said there, and she said, "You've awakened something."
Amen.
And I've seen it. I've seen it across all social media platforms. This awakening that's happening, and the absolute destruction of the moderates.
Yep.
And unfortunately for those far left lunatics, they've pushed more people away than they've got. There's no moderate that was sitting on the fence that's maybe conservative, maybe Democrat, depends on what the position is, who saw what happened to Charlie Kirk and then just like, you know what? I agree with those crazy lefties.
Yeah, and you know what? Charlie Kirk has literally created a generation of conservatives now. If you are a man or a woman and you're young and you were a big fan of Charlie Kirk, his assassination is going to make you a right-wing person for the rest of your life.
He'll be much more. He'll be much bigger and more influential in his death.
He will.
Than he was hugely influential
exactly right.
in his life.
Yeah, and it goes down to one of the verses he quoted right before he passed away, which is, what the enemy means for evil, the Lord can use for good. I firmly believe that's what we're about to see. I mean, as depressed as I have been, I have struggled with anger. I have struggled with then just total sadness.
Yeah.
And then you just get rage and sadness. And the image in all of our brains, especially if you saw the close-up of it, on a loop, because once you saw it once, everybody was posting it and you just kept seeing it and you couldn't look away. As bad as that is, I believe that the God of heaven will use this for amazing things.
And it was a stark reminder for me because I saw a video, and this is the first time I saw it, and it was today, and it was a video from inside the vehicle of Charlie Kirk pulling up to the event there, not knowing that he was minutes from the end of his life. And he was just so excited about the size of the crowd. And then he runs out there and he throws out these hats and all of this stuff. And, it was amazing because one of the last things that he was talking about there was the emergence of trans violence. And then he was violently murdered by someone living with a trans individual.
Yeah, that's right.
If you could not have called it.
And that's why that's why it's just incredible that
more spot on.
It's incredible that it wouldn't be, that there isn't more to this. If the official narrative is true, and Bongino and Kash Patel, they say, hey, look, we're going to look into this. We think that, there's maybe accomplices or a network or maybe people that knew about it before it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys, but get to it.
Right.
I don't want to be Epstein again. I don't want another example, about a video that's going to prove your case. and then it's got a missing minute of it. I'm sorry, you guys deserve every bit of what I'm saying right now. I know I'm conflating the two situations, but now is the time to put up or shut up. There is a video of the guy coming down the roof. It doesn't look like he has a firearm. Now, can you give us more information? That's all I'm saying. Maybe he does have a firearm. Maybe he does have that same gun, okay? At this point, with the way things are, you better have this guy dead to rights.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be conspiracy theories for forever. And if you guys don't produce the information, instead of just, Fox News reports or whatever, people are going to assume that you guys are just totally incompetent. But Norm Macdonald has one of the greatest internet jokes of all time. Back in the day when he said, "What terrifies me is if ISIS were to detonate a nuclear device and kill 50 million Americans, imagine the backlash against peaceful Muslims." This is obviously a joke because he's making fun of the left here. Not imagine, the 50 million Americans that'd be dead. No, imagine the backlash. And so the left is actually doing the meme. Here is Ed Krastenstein. Imagine being a transgender person in America today with all of the hate and demonization that is being directed at them. So we're going to make it about that instead of a public assassination of the future president of the United States, Charlie Kirk.
It's hard for me to believe that he would have had more calls to run for president. Probably in his late 40s, maybe as J.D. Vance is hopefully finishing his second term.
Yeah.
I hope that he takes over the reins in 2028, as he showed today. I mean, he's going to be a very sufficient replacement for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of righteous anger today. I don't need a middling response from our leaders today. I needed someone to lay the hammer down and just say, "Damn it, we're sick of this.
Yeah.
We're not putting up with this anymore, and we cannot be on the same. We cannot commingle with you individuals in terms of trying to not commingle as in like you need to be wiped off the face of the planet, but commingle in terms of policy, in terms of a debate in the open square here.
Yeah.
You cannot, if Charlie Kirk couldn't convince you, because he came with facts, he came with evidence, he came from a place of respect. Listen to him talk. There was a guy that went up there and asked him, like, "Hey, aren't you a Christian? Why are you tolerant of homosexuality?" And he just said, "What do they do in their personal life that upsets you so much?" And he's like, "God calls us to reach out." He goes, I'm not going to sit in judgment of them. I'm not going to sit in judgment of them. I'm going to try to reach out to them to try to get them on the side of the Lord. I'm going to minister the gospels to them. It is not my position to condemn them, And everybody's like, "Well, he's homophobic." What?
I know. Well, it goes back to the consequences, because he would preach the gospel to them, but then he would also, because the gospel is true, he would then talk about what that means for how we live, and that is what But he would still engage with homosexuals, right?
Yeah.
And a homosexual murdered him. I mean, that's what this guy was. Apparently, he was a homosexual with a guy that.
Okay. Yeah.
All I'm saying is that that.
You can call this person transgender all you want to, but it was a guy living
with another guy.
Yeah, it was two guys with penises living together. Let's be honest about what's happening here.
Yeah,
that means they're homosexuals.
And that's the thing. Like Fox News, we also have to do something. Like I was listening to the Fox News report.
Living together as in an intimate relationship.
Right.
Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Like two guys living together doesn't mean they're homosexuals, but
but I was watching or listening to Fox News on the radio on the way in, and they described the roommate. What's his name? Larry Lane Twiggs, and they were saying, he was living, instead of calling the man transgender, he said he was living with a man who was transitioning to become a woman. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that's impossible. Like, so even Fox News, so instead you report it, say he was living with a man who believed he could become a woman.
Incorrect. You could even clarify incorrectly believed.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's just a lot that's got to go on. This is the last thing that I want to leave us with. We may not have a time, but Tucker Carlson.
Let's do it.
Charlie Kirk. Here we go.
I wonder if by continuing to lie, they aren't about everything. They're driving all of us a little crazy.
Well, this is why your faith is the most important thing.
Here we go.
Because for those of us that are Christians, it doesn't drive you crazy.
This is what I was
You
trying
actually
to say.
see what's going on, which is that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and darkness and spirits, that there's a spiritual war here. And you're right, Tucker. I find people in this space that are not anchored to faith, anchored to Jesus, they do lose their mind. Because there is no rational or reasonable explanation for what the country is doing to itself or what we are experiencing. But if you then see and you know that there is a God and we are not him, that there is an entire dimension of angels and demons and spirits that are constantly struggling around us, and that there is a supernatural dimension, as you mentioned, all of a sudden, that does then make sense. It does not make any rational sense to shut down your schools so you could sacrifice the kids so the elderly can live. That makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense
Talking about COVID.
whatsoever to keep your marijuana dispensaries open and your alcohol shops open, but the church non-essential. Only a demonic enterprise would do such a thing.
Amen.
Only
Yeah.
a demonic enterprise would say that Easter and Pentecost are non-essential, but race rioting and burning down a Wendy's is essential activity. And Tucker, you talk about this a lot. For those of us that know the truth, we know that our God is a God of order and distinction. What is the first thing that God did? In the Hebrew scriptures it says, well, and also our scripture in the original Genesis, Bereshit, which is in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and then he separated and he made sense, he made order out of chaos. Our God is a God of order, and order only comes with distinctions, and distinctions are necessary. Think about all the distinctions that God set up in the first 6 books of Genesis that are currently under attack. The distinction between male and female. The distinction between man and nature. The distinction between the holy and the profane. The distinction between good and evil. The distinction between infant and adult. These distinctions have always been what Western civilization were built upon. But it is Satan's goal to blur and eventually destroy those distinctions. Because those distinctions of which we get order, and if you do not have that order, then you have the closest thing to satanic chaos here.
So on the show today, we can distinctly say that this kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier, several points in the show. Like it's a distinction between the holy and the profane. It is an abomination for the left in this country to rejoice over a man's bloody death. And we can say that and we can reject it.
I'm going to say as plainly as I can, if you rejoiced at his death on Wednesday of last week, you are not a Christian. And if you are a Christian, you're a Christian in need of revival.
Yeah.
You're a Christian in need of Jesus because you have strayed from him.
Yeah. That's all the time that we have. I want to remind everybody to, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to go to paultalkshow.substack.com. That's paultalkshow.substack.com, and you can become a paid subscriber there. And I'll give you a copy of Left Wing Will and the Red Pill if you become a monthly or yearly subscriber. I also want to shout out and give a thanks to our sponsors: Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, T-Guard Bail Bonds with Cody Powers, and Sherrod Chiropractic. More sponsors to come as well, but we really want to thank our sponsors because they're helping us grow this show.
Yeah,
and
without our sponsors, this is not possible. And if you want to become a sponsor, just get in contact with us.
Yeah, that's right. paulharrellprogram@gmail.com. And that's all the time that we have for this edition. I'll see you guys at noon tomorrow on Millstone, or I'll see you at 4 p.m. Central for the Paul Harrell program. We appreciate it, and be safe.